In just 60 days, one of the most powerful cities in Europe will lose over half its population. Its grand cathedral, a project meant to be the largest church in Christendom, will stop mid-construction. Forever. Its economy will collapse. Its government will fall. And the city will never recover its former glory. This is Siena, June 1348. And you're about to witness what happens when the Black Death doesn't just visit a city. It erases one. Before we watch Siena crumble, you need to understand what this place was. In 1348, Siena wasn't some backwater town. This was one of the richest, most powerful city-states in Italy. A rival to Florence, a banking powerhouse, home to over 50,000 souls. The streets buzzed with merchants from across Europe. Banking families controlled wealth that would make modern billionaires blush. Artists were creating masterpieces. And they were building. The Sienese had just started expanding their cathedral, not to make it bigger, but to make it the biggest. The plan? Turn the existing cathedral into just the transept of a new megachurch that would dwarf anything in Florence. Pride? Absolutely. Ambition? Off the charts. But while they were stacking stones skyward, something else was moving north through Italy. Something that would turn their greatest ambition into a permanent monument to failure. The Black Death had arrived in Sicily 6 months earlier. By May 1348, it was in Florence. Siena was next. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk you through 60 days. We'll watch as one of Europe's great powers is brought to its knees by an enemy you can't see, can't fight, and can't escape. We'll meet real people. A physician who had no idea what he was fighting, a shoemaker who buried his entire family, and the body collectors who became the most powerful men in the city. We'll find out why Siena's government completely collapsed on day 23. We'll discover the shocking thing that happened when corpse collectors became richer than nobles. And we'll see why, even today, 675 years later, Siena still bears the scars. Let's begin. It starts with a servant girl. Her name is lost to history, but we know she worked in a household near the Porta Camalia, the northern gate. She's 16. This morning, she wakes with a fever. Not unusual. It's early summer. Fevers happen. Then she notices the swelling. In her armpit, tender, painful, a bubo. Her mistress sends for Gentile da Foligno, one of the most respected physicians in Siena, trained at the University of Bologna. He's heard rumors from Florence, whispers of a terrible pestilence. But he's a man of science. He doesn't panic. He examines the girl, prescribes bloodletting. It doesn't work. By nightfall, 3 more cases appear in the same neighborhood. The servant girl is dead. 24 hours from first symptom to death. The Sienese government, the Nine, meets in emergency session. They face an impossible question. Announce the plague and risk mass panic, or stay quiet and hope it's isolated? They choose silence. It's a decision that will haunt them. 5 days in, 43 dead. Siena's normal death rate is maybe 5 people a day in a city of 50,000. 43 means something is catastrophically wrong. The Nine can't hide it anymore. They issue their first order. No public gatherings, markets outside the city walls, and anyone showing symptoms must be quarantined in their homes. That last part is a death sentence. When you quarantine a sick person in a medieval home, you're not isolating them, you're trapping their entire family with the disease. One person gets infected, then their spouse, their children, their servants. The house becomes a tomb. This is where Agnolo di Tura enters our story. Shoemaker, middle-aged, father of 5. He'll survive the next 60 days. But the cost will be unbearable. Day 8. The city's main hospital, Santa Maria della Scala, is overflowing. Built for 100 patients, it now holds over 300. Medieval hospitals aren't places for curing illness. They're places to die with dignity, to receive last rites. But there are too many dying and not enough priests. Some people die without confession, without absolution. In medieval Catholic Europe, that doesn't just mean a bad death, it means potential damnation. Eternal hellfire because a plague killed you too fast. Imagine believing this with every fiber of your being, then watching your grandmother die alone, gasping while the priest is 20 houses away. That's the psychological horror layering on top of the physical one. Day 10. 217 dead in a single day. The graveyards are full. They start digging trenches. Bodies laid in rows, covered with lime, buried in layers. No individual graves. No headstones. The city hires Becchini, body collectors, and pays them extraordinary sums to go door to door removing corpses. It's the most dangerous job in Siena. Most will be dead within 2 weeks. But the pay? A body collector makes in 1 day what a craftsman makes in a month. Because here's the thing about a plague. Death creates opportunity. And what happens next is going to get strange. Day 11. The streets are emptying. Not because of quarantine orders, those have been ignored, but because people are too terrified to leave their homes. Farmers refuse to enter the city. Siena, wealthy but dependent on imported food, now faces starvation. Grain prices triple. A loaf of bread costs what a pair of shoes used to cost. Agnolo the shoemaker can't work. No one's buying shoes when they think the world is ending. His savings are running out. His wife is sick. Day 13. Agnolo's wife dies. He wraps her in a sheet, no coffins left, and carries her himself to the mass grave outside Porta Tuffi. No funeral, no priest, no ceremony. He lays her in the trench alongside dozens of others and walks home. His 5 children are waiting. 3 of them are coughing. Day 16. Neighbors turn on each other. Someone coughs, and they're accused of being a plague spreader. People need someone to blame. In medieval Europe, there's always a scapegoat. Rumors spread. The Jews poisoned the wells. 0 evidence. Nonsensical, Jewish communities are dying at the same rates. But logic doesn't matter when people are terrified. The 9, to their credit, issue protection decrees. Guards are posted at the synagogue. It works. Siena avoids the pogroms other cities see. But something else is about to enter the city that will make everything stranger. Day 19. They arrive from the north. 200 men dressed in white robes, faces hidden beneath hoods, whipping themselves with leather scourges embedded with metal tips until blood soaks through the fabric. The flagellants. Their theology is simple. God sent the plague as punishment for sin. If we punish ourselves first, maybe he'll show mercy. They set up in the Piazza del Campo and perform their ritual publicly. Crowds gather. Some are horrified. Others join them. The 9 try to stop it. Large gatherings spread the plague. But how do you arrest men who believe they're saving your soul? You don't. Now Siena has plague, economic collapse, food shortages, and religious extremists publicly scourging themselves in the town square. Then the government falls. Day 23. The 9 hold an emergency session. Only 4 show up. 2 are dead. 3 are sick. 2 have fled. The 4 remaining look at each other and realize, we can't govern anymore. They issue one final decree. In this time of pestilence, each man must preserve his own life. The city is in God's hands now. Then they go home. Siena, one of the great city-states of Europe, no longer has a functioning government. Day 25. The peak. Between 400 and 500 people dying per day. Bodies stack in the streets. The smell is unbearable. Families seal dead relatives in their homes because there's no one to collect them. Entire bloodlines go extinct within days. Agnolo di Tura has buried his wife. By day 25, he's buried all 5 of his children. With his own hands. In his backyard. Because there's no one else. Years later, he writes, I, Agnolo di Tura, buried my 5 children with my own hands. And there were many others who did the same. That's all he writes about it. What else is there to say? On the edge of the city, the cathedral construction site sits empty. No workers. No sounds of hammers. Just silence. They'll never finish it. But here's where things get truly bizarre. Remember those body collectors, the Becchini, who were being paid fortunes to remove corpses. By day 25, some of them have made more money in 3 weeks than a master craftsman earns in a lifetime. And they've realized something: they have power. The city can't function without them. Bodies in the streets spread disease faster. The survivors are desperate for removal. So the Becchini form a guild. They start negotiating, demanding higher pay, better terms. Some begin wearing distinctive red cloaks so everyone knows who they are. The wealthiest Becchino, a man named Agnolo di Tura, buys a palazzo, a palace. He moves from a hovel to a noble's mansion in 2 weeks by collecting corpses. The social order isn't just breaking down, it's inverting. The man who removes your dead mother now lives better than the banker who used to run the city. It's grotesque. It's shocking. And it's about to get worse because some of these newly wealthy body collectors start doing what we talked about earlier. They start claiming property. Day 31. Entire families have been wiped out. No heirs. No one to claim estates. Legally, that property should go to the church or state. But there is no functioning state. The church is overwhelmed. So people take things. At first, it's the desperate poor. Families taking food, blankets, survival necessities. No one blames them. Then the opportunists arrive. Some of the wealthy Becchini. Surviving merchants. People who don't need to steal. They go house to house, inventorying the property of the dead, forging documents. Giovanni owed me money before he died. I'm just collecting the debt. By week's end, one body collector has claimed 17 properties. 17 extinct families. Their homes, businesses, legacies absorbed. The survivors are outraged. The church condemns it. But what can they do? This is what happens when society collapses. The rules disappear, and some people get rich off corpses. Day 26. Something strange happens. Gentile da Foligno, the physician from day 1, has been keeping meticulous records. Yesterday's death toll was lower. Not by much. 370 instead of 400. But it's the first time the number has gone down instead of up. No one dares celebrate. Hope is dangerous. But for the first time in nearly a month, people whisper, maybe we'll survive this. Day 28. The death toll continues declining. 351 day. 320 the next. Still catastrophic. Still overwhelming. But trending down. People emerge from their homes. Carefully. Warily. They don't touch. They don't get close. But they see each other again. If you lived through 2020, you know exactly what this feels like. That first time seeing neighbors after weeks of isolation. That weird mix of relief and fear. Human psychology doesn't change across 7 centuries. Day 37. The flagellants leave as mysteriously as they arrived. Some Sienese are relieved. Others feel abandoned. There's a strange cognitive dissonance. The plague is receding. Did the suffering help? Or was it always going to end? Medieval people don't have germ theory. They don't understand infection curves. All they know is, people whipped themselves, then things got better. Correlation or causation. They'll debate it for years. Day 40. The death toll drops under 100 per day. Still awful. Still tragic. But under 100. People gather in public again. A few vendors set up in the Piazza del Campo. A baker. A vegetable seller. A wine merchant. The transactions are strange. No one touches. Money is placed on the ground. Goods are picked up only after the seller backs away. Coins are washed in vinegar. Bread is blessed before sale. They don't know why these things help, but they're trying anything. And some of it works. Social distancing, cleaning, quarantine. They're stumbling toward public health practices by trial and error. It's not normal. Won't be for a long time. But it's something. And after 40 days of hell, something feels like a miracle. Day 45. Siena counts its dead. House to house, neighborhood by neighborhood, trying to figure out who survived. Some homes are completely empty. Entire bloodlines ended. The numbers are staggering. Of Siena's 50,000 residents, somewhere between 30,000 and 35,000 are dead. 2/3 of the city is gone. If this happened to modern Los Angeles, it would mean losing 10 million people in 2 months. The scale is incomprehensible. Survivors form an emergency council. Their first priority, food. They send delegations to the countryside, promising safety and premium prices. The farmers are skeptical. But hunger is a powerful motivator. Within a week, grain flows again. Slowly, expensively, but flowing. Day 50. Reconstruction begins. The literal first task. Cleaning up the dead. Bodies sealed in homes must be removed. Mass graves must be properly blessed. Takes weeks. The smell lingers for months. But it's happening. Shops reopen. Guilds reorganize. The Bakers' Guild has lost 70 of its members, so they lower requirements for apprentices to become masters. A 19-year-old who would have needed 10 more years of training now runs his own bakery. The economy is rebuilt by necessity, creating opportunities for people who never would have had them. This will reshape Siena in unexpected ways. Day 55. Someone asks, What about the cathedral? The grand expansion. The project that was supposed to make Siena greater than Florence. The council debates. Some argue they should finish it. Show the world Siena survived. Others do the math. The project required thousands of workers. Siena now has a third of its former population. The project required enormous wealth. The banking families are decimated. The project required civic will. The people are traumatized, grieving, focused on survival. The decision is made. The expansion is cancelled. The walls that were built will stay, but they'll never be completed. If you visit Siena today, you can still see them. The facciatone, the unfinished facade, giant walls that were supposed to be part of something magnificent, now standing as a monument to a dream that died with 35,000 people. One of the most powerful historical sites in Europe, and most visitors don't realize what they're looking at. The tomb of Siena's ambition. Day 60. August 4th, 1348. The plague isn't gone. It'll flare periodically for years, but the crisis has passed. The market functions. The council governs. Food is available if expensive. Life returns. But it's not the life that existed 60 days ago. Here's the thing about Siena. It survived. You can visit it today. But it never recovered. Before the plague, Siena was Florence's rival. After, Florence dominated. Siena's population didn't return to 50,000 until the 20th century. 600 years later, its banking families never regained power. Its political influence evaporated. And that cathedral, that monument to ambition, became a monument to loss instead. The Black Death didn't just kill people, killed potential. We'll never know what Siena could have become if those 35,000 people had lived. What art they would have created. What ideas they would have had. What children they would have raised. An artist who never painted his masterpiece. A merchant who never founded her empire. A child who never grew up to change the world. Multiplied by 35,000. When you walk through modern Siena, you're not just walking through a beautiful medieval city. You're walking through a graveyard of possibilities. What do we learn from Siena's 60 days? First, human behavior during pandemics hasn't changed. Social distancing, quarantine, panic, scapegoating, official denial. 1348 and 2020 look remarkably similar. 7 centuries of scientific progress, and we still make the same mistakes. But we also show the same courage. Second, the people who save us are often the ones we overlook. In Siena, it was monks and nuns, bakers who kept working. Even the body collectors, as morally complicated as some became. In 2020, it was nurses, grocery workers, delivery drivers, the essential workers who risk everything so society doesn't collapse. Third, some damage can never be repaired. Siena never finished its cathedral, never regained its power. Some communities never come back from catastrophe. That's not pessimism. It's reality, which makes the choice to rebuild, even when full recovery is impossible, an act of incredible courage. Siena's survivors didn't know if their city had a future. They rebuilt anyway, not because success was guaranteed, but because the alternative was giving up entirely. Siena never became the superpower it wanted to be, but it became something. A beautiful, resilient city that survived one of history's worst disasters and kept going. That's not nothing. Remember Agnolo di Tura, the shoemaker who buried his 5 children? Years later, he wrote a chronicle of the plague, one of our most valuable historical sources. In it, he writes, "There are not words to describe the cruelty of this time. One person feared another. And I, Agnolo di Tura, called the fat, buried my 5 children with my own hands. And there were many others who did the same." He didn't quit, didn't leave. He buried his family, mourned them, and kept living. Because that's what humans do. We survive. We grieve. We rebuild. Even when what we rebuild will never be as grand as what we lost. Today, Siena is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Tourists walk its medieval streets. The Palio horse race still runs twice a year. The cathedral, the original one, not the expansion, is one of Italy's most beautiful. And if you know where to look, you can still see the scars. The unfinished walls. The plaques commemorating the dead. The street layout designed for 50,000 that housed only 15,000 for centuries. History doesn't erase trauma. It teaches us how to live with it. If you made it this far, thank you. This was a heavy one. At Ash and Crown History, we don't just tell you what happened. We want you to feel what it was like. To understand that history isn't dates and facts. It's people. Real people who lived, suffered, loved, and survived. If you want more stories like this, deep dives into the moments that changed everything, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what historical event should we cover next? Another plague? A battle? The collapse of an empire? Because next time we're going to another city that stood for 1,000 years. But this time it's not a disease that destroys it. It's the largest cannons the world has ever seen. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.